I always enjoy visiting Japan. It's always fascinating because I meet new people every time that I come. And meeting people is, I believe, and what my great-grandfather George believed, the best way to get to know a country. Thank you very much for the welcome. The limited edition duofold that celebrates Parker's 130th anniversary is really about George Parker himself and about the ideals that he established in his business 130 years ago. If I had to pick just one, I would say George was one of those people who was relentlessly, incessantly curious. And that meant that George wanted to learn any way that he could learn. What he discovered once he started following his childhood dream of traveling was that he could learn the most from the people he met around the world. That's how he gained a real understanding of a country, understanding of its culture, was by understanding its people. And so the new 130th anniversary duofold represents George's travels. The map that's shown on the barrel shows the world that George visited all those years ago. The compass that's shown on the nib portrays how they navigated during those days. And of course, the blue used in the barrel and in the lapis lazuli stone in the cap represents the oceans, the many oceans and seas that he crossed during his travels. For George, traveling wasn't just about going to see the Eiffel Tower. It was, and the typical sights that one would see. It was about trying to see and understand the country and its people. George kept a journal whenever he traveled, and he did it for several reasons. Not just to record his trip, but he understood that by writing it, he made the memory more permanent. And that was very important to him. It was also important to him because he shared his travels and his insights and his discoveries with the people back home. George loved to travel to Japan. He was always impressed by the simple beauty that he found here and by the precision its people exhibited in everything they do. But probably the best known example I could share with you is that while George was traveling once, his sons decided, without his knowledge, to offer the first of the orange duofolds. When George first heard about this, he was rather upset that they'd been so secretive. But once he saw the sales figures, he was very pleased. So with that in mind, on George's very next trip to Japan, he began looking for inspiration for another duofold. And he and his wife, Martha, found it when they saw and then purchased a beautiful yellow vase in Japan. And that yellow in that vase became the basis for what's known as the Parker Mandarin Yellow duofold, one of the most beautiful colors Parker has ever offered. Before I show you the pen, let me just say that there is not just one thing about the pen that makes it so interesting. it's everything about it. So let me show it to you. So here it is. And you can see right off the bat, it has the classic dual fold proportions and size and shape. But what's truly unique about this pen are the hallmarks of George's travels. First, you can look very closely, you can see there's a map of the world engraved on the barrel, along with George's signature. Then on the nib, if you can see very closely, you can see that there's a compass engraved on the nib. And then on the top of the cap, there's a beautiful 2-carat lapis lazuli stone. And it, along with the blue color of the barrel, represents the oceans and the seas that George crossed in his many travels. I'm going to sign every single one of them. Absolutely. For a limited edition pen of this importance, that's the only way to do it. Make it personal, and that's what I like to do best. I think the idea here is that George used travel as a form of learning, as a form of discovery. But it's important to notice as well that that same curiosity that George had, that same yearn to discover new things, became an important part of the Parker business. And it led to many interesting developments, innovations, many innovations. And of course, those were all backed up by the quality materials and the craftsmanship that were already a part of Parker Pen many years ago. So this pen doesn't just represent George, it represents all 130 years of the business that he created, because the ideals that he established 130 years ago are still alive and well and thriving today. I think the Japanese have always been one of our favorite consumers because the Japanese have very, very demanding requirements for quality, craftsmanship, and workmanship. And those are qualities that we've been striving for and improving consistently over the past 130 years. So the Japanese are very capable of making sure that we're doing the best we can. That's what I like.